Hello, my sexy and beautiful people of the internet. My name is Diego, also known as the Chilean Retro Gamer, and welcome to this little special video in which I wanna explain and tell you about this little mechanism, engine thing that I found on the internet recently that goes by the name of Retro Game Gauntlet Roll Machine, which is, as you can see, a classic game randomizer made by Russians. That's why it's simply called a Russian roulette. Um, and this basically is a full database of all of the ROMs for all of the systems that you see here, and of course you roll this thing so you can get a random game out of that. For example, let's go to NES. On NES there is 1,623 games. So if you roll this machine right here, you get a funny music, but you can also get a random game that apparently includes, well, it says there, Famicom NES. It includes the Japanese titles as well, which is kind of interesting in case you don't know what to play, so you can get something at random. This lasts for a good 30 seconds or so be patient. This is just a test. And I got what? Cabal. Yeah, I actually know Cabal. It's a port of the arcade game. So yeah, pretty much this is how it works. You go to other systems, you got the Genesis, 721 games, Game Boy and Game Boy Color, 1067. So I don't know if this is actually complete. I don't see Super Nintendo. Oh, there it is. Super Famicom 2, 1321. Yeah, I guess it's kind of near completion, as you know, as far as database is concerned. So yeah, it is very interesting actually that you can select pretty much whatever system you want, and all of the games from that system will be there to be randomly selected. So what's the whole point of this? What's the point of having a randomizer? I mean, is it just for selecting games of a console in case you don't know what to play? Maybe you can use it like that, but actually this has something deeper in mind. This was made by Russian streamers on Twitch that they basically started a show or a challenge, a streaming challenge called the Retro Game Gauntlet. What is it about? Basically, the challenge consists of selecting a bunch of systems, let's say 6 or 7 systems, and the idea of the challenge is to select a random game from each of the systems, and in order to move on to the next console, you have to beat the game in questions. For example, let's select 3 here. Let's put, for example, NES, Master System, and TurboGrafx, okay? Let's put those 3 as an example. So I have to go to the NES category and I have to select a game. For example, let's say that I got Cabal now. So I have to beat Cabal in order to move on to the next console, which is the Master System, and then select the next game for the Master System, and so on and so forth. Basically, the challenge is complete when you beat the game that gets selected in every console you basically end up selecting, right? So you have to do it in a particular order. So, and what happens for example, if in the first console that you select, you get Cabal, and I am unable or incapable of beating Cabal, well, as a punishment, I have to you make your own rules in here, but basically you have to keep playing games from the same console until you beat a certain amount, and then you can move on to the next. But the primary idea is to get a console, select the game or roll the game, or basically get the game out of rolling this thing, and beat the game in question, and then move on. But if you cannot beat it, you have to continue. You have to get stuck with the same console until you complete a certain amount of games or play a certain amount of games as a quote-unquote punishment in order to move on to the next console. It might look like a very short challenge, basically just beat a game from a bunch of consoles that you end up selecting, but the whole challenge is to beat the game, or the very first game that comes out, basically, if you are unable to do that, you have to continue with the same console until you fulfill a certain requirement. Again, that's optional because you make your own challenge in that regard. And then you can move on to the next system in order to continue with the challenge. So I actually took the time to take a look at some of the Russian streamers who actually do this or did this. Actually, not so many anymore. And it was actually very interesting to see that people didn't really move on to the next console quickly enough. They got stuck in the very same systems for quite a while before being able to move on. Probably because they were too harsh on themselves to make the rules, and instead, in case you cannot beat the game that comes up, you have to play like 5 or 6 games. Like you go on eternally on that very same system before moving on. So don't get surprised, guys, if I do videos or streams on this retro gaming gauntlet thing. Of course, I'm gonna make my own rules. I'm gonna be selecting a bunch of systems, and of course, getting a random game out of that. See if I can beat it. If not, well, I will make my own rules to continue playing games from the very same systems until I fulfill a requirement, and then move on to the next system that I put. There are supposed to be the systems are supposed to be put in order. It's part of the challenge. It's not just move on to whatever console you want. You have to follow a specific order in order to complete this quote unquote challenge. So it is kind of interesting. If you're interested in taking a look at this roll machine, either for whatever. I mean, if you just wanna fuck around with it and select a random game to play on your own time, or just to do the challenge on your own YouTube channel or stream, whatever, I'm gonna put the link to this on the description so you can download it. Actually, this can be used online, and you can also download the exe application thing, so it works just fine. And okay, this is actually very sad. Below the number, as you can see, it says search on Emo Paradise. Well, Emo Paradise doesn't host ROMs anymore. But again, I mean, there are other places where you can get the ROMs in case you don't have them. I mean, I have pretty much full collections for most of these consoles, at least NES, Master System, TurboGrafx, Genesis, Game Boy Color, Game Gear, Super Nintendo, Neo Geo, Nintendo 64, GBA, I think DS2. But the rest are not that interesting actually to get full collections of, to be honest. So yeah, that's in regards to the retro game gauntlet roll machine that I, called Russian Roulette, because it's a roulette made by Russians. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to realize. So yeah, don't get surprised if I do episodes or mini challenges or actual challenges about this on either here or any of the other channels, or maybe many channels simultaneously. You never know. So stay tuned for more on this. So I'm going to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the overheating situation, this issue that I've been dealing with for the last month or so on my computer. I've been running lots of tests lately. That's why I haven't been putting new material on the channels lately. So I can perfectly do NES, Master System, TurboGrafx, Genesis, all the Game Boys, Game Gear, Super Nintendo, Neo Geo, arcade of course. I think PS1 is also possible to do, and N64 too. GB8, yes, I can. But everything else, any other emulator that uses a little bit more resources, like Nintendo DS, even 3DS, of course, because there is a 3DS emulator that I've been working with for a while. But right now, it's pretty much impossible to record, or stream for that matter. So I cannot do DS, 3DS, PSP, and PC games in general are really near impossible to record at this moment. There are probably a few PC games that are possible to do, but the majority is pretty much impossible at the moment, including DOS games, which in theory should use very little resources, but it's probably, DOSBox is probably one of the emulators that uses the most resources for that matter. So I'm a little bit like, disappointed, but at the same time, I am hopeful that, and I'm gonna be able to fix this computer in a month from now, or at least send it to repair to someone. But for the time being, at least for this remaining month, or for, yeah, for the next weeks, you will see me do these systems that I told you. I can do them no problem. I have to lower the quality though, as I told you in this little Donkey Kong Country 3 hack gameplay that I use as an update of sorts. So I'll be able to do those consoles. And not many PC games. I can do capture card. I can do modern consoles hooked up to my capture card. I was actually doing a couple of tests, and it works pretty much like I expected. Basically, you are recording a video feed, so it doesn't have major repercussions on your computer's performance, which is good news, I guess, in case you want to see me do eventually more modern stuff. But I actually have to hook up and start recording things. But I'm mostly about the classics and the hacks and some PC games here and there. But as in for the classics, I can do pretty much all of them, or at least let's say 90% of the things I usually do on my channels. And there are a few things that I'm incapable of doing at the moment, but I really hope that I can get it fixed in a month from now. If not, well, I guess I will be taking other measures. I don't want to be telling you what I'm going to do if I still don't know what's going to happen in the end. But I mean, in the worst case scenario, of course, I will let you know about the decisions I'm going to be making, redoing some series, replacing some projects, and the like. About the projects, there are projects that, for obvious reasons by now, are going to be put on hold. For example, 1001 Spikes on Chilean Retro Gamer 4, or Super Meat Boy on the Random Channel 1. All of these current projects that I'm doing on PC, of course, probably those games are going to be put on hold for the time being because of this very same issue. As in for the rest of the channels, I haven't done many new things. I mean, I recently finished the Donkey Kong Country 3 hack on Chilean Retro Gamer 3, as you probably guys know very well by now. So I guess that's the only active project, together with another one on the Random Channel 2, which is a PC hidden object game from the Randomizer series. Other than those two, I haven't been doing much newer stuff. So I guess this video is to let you know that I'm gonna be working on new projects on the different channels. Those two channels are currently active, during this last week or so. Channel 3 and the Random Channel 2 with, the current projects that I'm doing on those specific channels. Obviously, I'm gonna keep uploading Capcom vs. Konami episodes from the live stream on here. Well, those live streams, as you know, were done over a year and a half ago. So at least you're gonna keep me, you're gonna keep seeing those videos from me, because I have pretty much all of them backed up by now. So it's just a matter of trim the longer streams and upload each individual game. So in that sense, you're not gonna run out of things to see from me. But I still want to do new things now that I ran enough tests and I know pretty much what I can record and what I cannot record. Now that I know all that, I can basically get to start new projects in some cases, resume other projects if I can. And yeah, pretty much all that. So yeah, I guess that's all what I wanted to tell you. I wanted to introduce this little roll machine for the Retro Game Gauntlet challenge. In case you are interested in doing it, well, you can take a look at the page that I'm gonna be putting on the description of the video, so you can download the roll machine application and also take a look at the challenge itself in case you are interested. But yeah, I mean, don't get surprised if you see me do things like this in the near future on the different channels. And also, well, you know what to expect and what not to expect in terms of systems and consoles from for the next month or so. Again, I want to think that I'm gonna get my shit fixed in a month from now. If not, I will let you know, and I will be, of course, informing properly about the measures that I'm gonna be taking because of that reason. But for the time being, I'm just gonna be reducing the video quality of my videos. Instead of 720p, 480p, which doesn't have a huge impact on classic games, or any impact at all, I should say. And at the same time, I am going to be doing a very limited amount of emulators and systems in general, because there are others that I'm currently working on that I am unable to do because of this overheating situation. So thank you a lot for watching, for listening, and maybe later this week I'll be uploading another episode of Capcom vs. Konami on here on this channel. So stay tuned, and hopefully by next week I will be starting new projects across the different channels in order to, being able to produce new material at last. So thank you, and see you next time.